Plot summary for Catching Teller Crow.
The only person who can see 15-year-old ghost Beth Teller is her grieving father, Michael Teller, a police detective in Australia. When Michael is sent to investigate a burned corpse found in a burned-down children's home, Beth, who wants to distract him from his grief, tries to convince him to take the case seriously, though believes the corpse is just Director Kavanagh or Nurse Flint, the home's only two employees. When Michael's phone rings, Beth suspects it's Auntie Viv, her dead Aboriginal mother-sister, who was driving Beth to a party when another car hit them, killing Beth. Michael won't talk to Auntie Viv, although she didn't cause the accident. Beth and Michael visit the burned-down children's home, where Beth sees a crow. Michael shows Beth photos of the home, which include unhappy-looking children, Kavanagh, Flint, and bespectacled Alexander Schult, the rich man who donated the building for the home. Beth suggests that they should talk to the girl found on drugs near the home the night of the fire. At the hospital, a sharp-featured Aboriginal girl, Isabel Ketching, flags Michael down, identifies herself as the witness, and brings him to her hospital room, where she begins telling a story. In Catching's story, she and her mother are on a road trip where her mother is teaching her to control her anger by silently reciting the names of the Ketching women, from her great-great-grandmother to herself. Her mother has also told her about the Ketching women's strengths, all of which Ketching has inherited. During the trip, a flood sweeps Ketching from their car. Ketching uses the swimming power of her great-grandmother, who swam home after the government forcibly separated her from her Aboriginal family to survive. But later, she finds her mother's corpse. She cries herself to sleep. When she wakes, the world has gone gray. Two creatures wearing masks, which call themselves fetchers, find Ketching and abduct her into a series of tunnels. Ketching stops talking, and Michael leaves her alone. In the hospital parking lot, Michael suggests to Beth that Ketching's story represents her feelings about what happened to her, not what literally happened. Beth, angry at Ketching for not giving Michael a truer story, phases back into Ketching's room to vent at her, and is shocked to learn that Ketching can see her. Ketching explains that her mother could see ghosts. Since Ketching inherited all her female ancestors' strengths, Ketching can see ghosts too. Ketching asks Beth questions that reveal Beth was moving on to an afterlife until Michael's grief pulled her back. When Ketching criticizes Michael, Beth gets so angry that a light bulb explodes. Ketching explains that ghosts' strong emotions can affect the physical world and tells Beth to leave until she's ready to talk about moving on. The next morning, a call wakes Michael. It's a police colleague from the city, telling him that Kavanagh and Flint's bank account suggests they were being paid off. At the station, Police Chief Derek Bell criticizes Michael for interviewing witnesses before talking to the local police. When Michael asks Derek about Alexander Schult, Derek says that they went to school together. Claiming that Alexander's house is hard to find, Derek asks his Lieutenant Ali Hartley to take Michael there. On the drive, Ali asks Michael to look at the file of her childhood friend Sarah Blue, an Aboriginal girl who disappeared 20 years ago at age 14. When they reach Alexander's house, Alexander's father stonewalls Michael at the door. Meanwhile, Beth searches the house and finds a smashed second-floor window with black hairs stuck to the pane. As Beth and Michael walk back to the car, Ali jumps out and tells Michael that she just got a call. 2 more bodies have been found. Michael, Ali, and Beth drive to the site where the bodies were dumped, a drain surrounded by a locked fence. After Michael views the bodies with Derek, Ali tells him that a woman who lives nearby claims to have heard a winged creature flying overhead the night before. Beth blurts fetchers and teleports to Ketching to make sure she's okay. Ketching assures Beth that no fetchers are coming for her, but thanks her for checking. Beth says, "It's whatever," but cuts herself off before saying the word friends. Ketching affirms that she and Beth are friends because she told Beth the hard truth about needing to move on, and telling hard truths is what friends do. Later, Michael arrives looking for Beth, and Ketching resumes her story. In Ketching's story, a girl with long gray hair, gray eyes, and gray skin emerges from the shadows of the room where the fetchers deposited Ketching and introduces herself as Crow. Crow explains that the fetchers work for the Feed, a monster that will eat Ketching's colors. Ketching realizes that Crow is gray because the Feed fed on her. The fetchers bring Ketching to another room, where the Feed, a monster with mirrors for eyes, rips open her abdomen, pulls colors out of her, and eats them. After Ketching is returned to her room, Crow informs Ketching that the feed has killed many victims. She advises Ketching to become dead to avoid the pain. Instead, Ketching starts silently reciting the Ketching women's names. When she forgets one, she asks Crow to help her by reciting relationship words, for example Granny and Nonna, that will trigger memories. Back in the hospital, Michael offers to protect Ketching from whoever hurt her, but Ketching says it's too late.